Welcome to the ETF Inspector. The point of this video is to help you understand all the little nuances of the different videos that I make. I've been asked multiple times to create a video like this so that people can watch this and have an understanding without me having to repeat myself in every video on what different things mean. So the goal is you watch this once or you go back and check it just to see, and then I can shorten the videos that I come out with daily, weekly, and not repeat instructions and explanations over and over again. Okay, so just kind of topics. I'm not going to necessarily go in order. I just want to make sure I hit all these. So right off the bat, why am I making this video? That was what I just introduced with at everyone's request, so that people can understand things, new people coming in understand things, and the people who've already been here don't have to hear it repeated over and over again. So we will start with the most popular, ULTY and LFGY, and their strategies. So if you go to the different forms that I show you, ULTY operates 90-some% of the time in a collar strategy. I did bring it up. I can explain it in my own words, but just a real quick definition from Option Strat, I love their website, is a strategy for when you are somewhat bullish but nervous on a stock and own 100 of the underlying shares. It's a covered call and a protective put combined, because it protects you from the stock falling past strike A, right? But also limits your upside by selling the stock if it hits strike B. Now, we won't be selling the stock. We won't be letting anything get to assignment. You can also think of it as a protective put, but the credit from the short call, that would be the sold call, pays for the stop loss insurance, with the downside of the profit being capped. It's also known as a risk reversal. So this is 90% of the time what you're going to see traded in ULTY, right? You have a stock, there's the underlining, they own shares in it, and then also, while we're there, when we're talking about the stock itself, this column is shares, but when we're underneath of it, we're looking at the options, then this column is contracts, and you'll notice that there's 100 times different, because there's 100 shares per contract of options. I'm not going to go into explaining calls and puts and options like that. There's tons of videos out there already, so I don't want to make this video really long. So that's for the most part, but then sometimes they also trade options on stocks without actually owning any shares, like AMD, for example, here. Okay, we have 4 of them currently, but that's going to change as people watch the video. RH is the next, VRT, and VST. Now, and when they do those, they generally are doing debit call spreads or debit put spreads. So in this case, you can see they bought 139s and then sold 144s and 147s. These two equal those. You will pretty much always see the maximum amount of contracts being sold if they do own the shares, but then if they don't, then the contracts will just total up to equal each other, negatives versus positives. Okay, that's what ULTY does. Now, they have the ability to do pretty much everything, but that's what we're seeing right now. LFGY is slightly different. They do own the shares. They do not buy protective puts, so there's not downside protection in LFGY the way there is in ULTY. I believe that's what stopped all the bleeding from ULTY and made it gain in popularity. So LFGY owns the shares for the most part, and then sells calls off of them, covered calls. Sometimes they will also buy a call beyond that as like a protection in case the stock runs past it, to keep from having to pay an unlimited amount of money to close it out. But other times they do not, right? You see Circle, they just sold the covered call. They don't have protection. So it's a toss-up. Seems like lately they have more where they buy the protection than not, but there have been times where many of them were unprotected. I believe there's only one thing within this fund where they don't own the shares, but they do make trades, but that'll change throughout all their time. And then with those, you can see they've got a call spread there, another call spread here, and a put spread there. If it is a credit call spread, then I will still use the normal color coding system, which I will talk about in a little bit. But if it's a debit call spread, that kind of reverses things, and I don't want to confuse people with the colors, so then you'll see blue used, a light blue, not to be confused with your header here in blue. While we're on these, I will also explain, so with each stock within the fund, off to the far left, I will have the 30-day IV. I update that every Saturday. And that is because they make their distribution announcements on Wednesdays, but it is for the previous week, ending with Friday's trades. So Saturday morning, I have the most recent IV that will not change throughout the day, and they will use those percentages when coming up with their math for their estimates. Next to that is the weighting. That's just the percentage of this stock within the fund out of all the stocks. All right, so those are the strategies and kind of the setup on what the page looks like for ULTY and LFGY. Now we also have, let's check our next, we want to talk about the monthlies. So the monthlies are set up a little different. At the top, I tell you which group it is. If it's a YieldMax fund, the previous and next declaration dates, how much time, what the previous distribution was, what that annualized comes out to. I update again the 30-day IV of the underlying every Saturday morning. You'll see the underlying and then the YieldMax fund over here with their closing prices. So this is new. I just started doing this because people were asking for more color. I don't want to color everything because then color's supposed to draw your attention to something, and if I draw your attention to everything, then it's really drawn to nothing. So at the top, when we look at the holdings for each one, we're in AMDY, for example. This is the synthetic position. Okay, it's a sold put with the same strike price as a purchased call, a long call and a short put. So for instance, this is a 110. I'll show you how far in or out of the money they are, and I colored the synthetic value to go with it, so your brain will kind of put those two things together. That's what that's worth. So when you go to close it out, that's going to add to the income for the month, or depending on when they close it out, and help us with estimating what the distribution will be. In the middle, these rarely change. We're never really even going to talk about them. They're just the treasuries, sometimes government funds. At the bottom, every once in a while they keep the government funds down with cash. Other times they have it up with the treasuries. Either way, they're not going to be the focus of our attention. And then you will have the sold calls for the underlying with a red, yellow, or green next to it, and percentages. That's how far in or out of the money that is. They sell weeklies, and then they pay out, I call it monthly, but it's really every 4 weeks. Okay, so they also purchase a call further out. Again, we already explained that, limiting it. So I don't highlight those. We don't care about how far out of the money they are. These are the ones that we have to pay to close, so we want to see where they're ending up. Not all. Select one strike only. For example, well, AMZY did. See, APLY's got 2 different spots for their purchased calls. But here you go. FBY for Meta has calls sold at 7:30 and 7:32.50. So I'll let you know how far in or out of the money they are as well. I update the outstanding shares. When we go through the trades, right, I keep them 4-week cycle at a time, and then I hide the lines once we're done talking about it. That's why you see we jump from line 1 to 94, because previous weeks have just been hidden. Once we talk about something in a video, I gray it out. That way we don't talk about anything twice, right? We're going into a new week, so there's nothing new yet. Okay. I think that might be everything for those. And then finally, I recently added Roundhill 0 DTE funds. 0 DTE means it's expiring that day. So every morning in Roundhill, they will sell under QDTE, XDTE, and RDTE. They will make a trade. For example, this morning's, they sold a call at 22,830, 348 contracts, the price. With these, I also put out a X or Twitter message every morning to let you know what they sold, just in case you want to sell right with the pros, because they let you know within a few minutes of their trade. So these are set up very much like the monthlies. These holdings don't change much. It's similar to a synthetic, so I still colored it like synthetic because these are deep in the money purchased calls. They're not as long. They're not long term. Sometimes they are, but they can run up towards expiration. They're also considered flex options because these are at very odd strike prices that you and I don't have access to. So no, you're not seeing that funny. That is a $2,416.81 call. So these are things that we don't have availability for, but they do. So when they purchase all these, if we were to sum that up, I can already tell you what it comes to, 348, because they are selling the max amount of contracts they can, trying to generate income. The effort in all of these that I cover are trying to generate income through selling of calls. Some just do that. Others then also buy a call further out to protect that. Others buy a put to protect the share price if they actually own the shares. I will use color coding. Well, let me wait a minute to talk about color coding. All right, so let's go back. So we talked about the different strategies. So with these also, they will not buy to close within the same day. They don't intraday trade. I talked to them on the phone. That's not how they work. So they're going to sell the call. It's either going to win or it's going to lose. It just expires at the end of the day, and it's cash settled. So no shares are going to be changing hands. Frequency of video output. Okay, so these Roundhill 0 DTEs, they trade Monday to Friday, and I make a video once the market closes Monday to Friday to let you know. On Fridays, I will also give you an estimate for what I think the following weeks, the following Wednesdays, distribution announcement's going to be. So that's what I put right here. Generally, if I have more than one way of coming up with it, I will have a list. So for example, on the monthlies, let's see, we just did FBY, right? This one was based off of income. This is based off of the IV, and then this is just my personal guess in between. Okay, so, but back to the point, these come out Monday through Friday, as long as those are actual trading days, no holidays, and there's a guesstimate portion within the Friday video. The monthlies, these are the individual income strategy funds. I cover 7 so far. I might add an 8th soon, but these videos come out once a week on Saturday. I review how the fund did the previous week, how it's set up going into the next week, as far as where all their options sit, and also do a guesstimate for whichever fund is going to be announcing their declaration in the upcoming week. And then as far as the ULTY/LFGY videos, these come out every trading day, Monday to Friday. They get a break on Saturday, and then on Sunday there is a week look ahead and distribution guesstimate video as well. And then I actually also, there's another video I make that is my personal trades. I generally put that out on a Saturday as well, but it's not covering anything else. It's just, here's what I traded, here's my dividends collected, just if you're interested in that kind of stuff. Okay, what's with all the colors? So the deeper darker blue is just the heading color. I have tried to start freezing those so that they stay there, help you understand what you're looking at. Okay, then I have a color coding system for how far options are in or out of the money. So when you sell an option, you've got to buy it back at the end to close. I know you could let things expire, but they don't in this situation. So if we're going to be buying it, if it were in the money, that would be bad. That's why I use red, because if it's in the money, it's going to cost money to close. If it's out of the money but close, within 5%, it's yellow. You see that. And then if it's out of the money and greater than 5% out of the money, it's green. Now, these aren't updated because the stocks are still moving throughout the day. So I go back once the day has closed and I correct all my colors before I make the video. Now, we talked about the light blue. Well, that is because this is a purchased call, but it's not for protection. This is the one they're trying to make money on. So you want that in the money, but I didn't want to color that red for in the money because red in your mind is bad, and we want this in the money because it's the opposite type of strategy. So those are light blue. So the outliers, the slightly different things, are in light blue, so we remember that. Okay, those are our colors. We talked about colors on the trading pages. If we have already talked about the trades, then we color them in darker gray just to show we're done with them. And then if everything's not colored in the background, it's to be talked about. And just added the new colors, so you haven't even seen any videos with this yet, but they're coming. Synthetics or very similar to synthetics are in this. The computer called them plum. I wanted a real light color, and that was the only one left that I wasn't already using. And I actually forgot a color because they've all been erased. I also use orange. So orange, let's say in the trades, when we download the trades today, if they roll a strategy to the following week, I will highlight the stock ticker in orange on the trade page when we talk about it. And then let's say it was Coinbase, if I had orange right here, that lets us know that this option is no longer in existence. It has been rolled out, and it will get updated tomorrow because the trade downloads come out every evening, so we can talk about them in the evening video, but the holdings updates don't come out till the following morning. So just because they traded it I don't have the ability to have the other side of the page correct. So I just tell you, hey, don't pay attention to these. They just got rolled. We'll have new information tomorrow. The only things that update throughout the day are the stock prices and their change and change in market value. Now, I don't go through and read every market value change throughout the videos. I just let you know the total at the bottom. These don't update. They're just what things close at. So what it would cost to close this 1350 basically on last Friday was 57.5 cents. All right, let's keep it moving. We're almost done. Okay, estimates. I talked about it a little bit. I use a couple different things to come up with estimates. All right, for starters, it's the income. That's the goal. But if they don't make enough income, they do promise to try and pay us a certain amount, at least in YieldMax. I'm pretty new with Roundhill. So that is based off of the IV. So that's the reason I update the IV all the time. I weight which stocks that the IVs go with, and then they combine for a weighted average IV. That gets used and multiplied by the closing price divided by 52 weeks in this example to come up with the IV estimate. And then of course I'll give you a guess based off of how they've been announcing estimates comparable to the income or the IV numbers. Okay. ULTY, LFGY pay weekly, so do the 3 Roundhill 0 DTE funds. The other monthly ones are every 4 weeks, so we're totaling a whole lot more time frame worth of trades to come up with those. Okay, and then finally, I think this will be the last thing, thumbnail clues. All right, so the thumbnail, when you're looking at it, it's not just obviously the picture is just a picture, but I let you know the day. That way, just in case the picture looks familiar, you know, hey, this is today's video. This is, this is an old video. If the stocks, so ULTY's over here. If the stocks were up today, they're in green. If the stocks were down today, they're in red. If they sold out of that stock today, it'll have a line through it. If they added a new stock today, it'll be added with a little plus sign next to it. LFGY is over here, ULTY's over here. I will also add little extra things if it's a special day. Like, for example, Wednesdays are distribution declaration day, so I will be talking about those in that video. Same thing with the monthlies. So since this video only comes out once a week and it's on the weekend, the colors are just in green. But I let you know, hey, I'm going to talk about the previous trading week. I'm going to talk about the upcoming week to see how we stand with the options going forward. And then I'll let you know which fund within the video is declaring in the upcoming week, and we will be making our guesstimate for that. And of course the date will be up there as well. All right, so I think that's everything. I'm going to try and start sending people to this video as opposed to explaining this kind of information over and over again in an effort to make all the viewers happy. All right, appreciate you watching, and good luck in all your trading.